Hello, my name is Mokane, and I'm going to show you how to get through the Hullbreaker Isle hard mode in the new 3.3 content. So let's get to our first boss and get started. Basically, the first boss is 4 waves of regular everyday pirates. There's nothing too terribly difficult about this fight. The first bit here, all you really need to do is sit down and just beat them up. Obviously, your tank wants to pull the bombs away so that way you're not getting caught up in cleaves. But otherwise, it's your classic tank and spank kind of mechanic. Once you get to the second wave, things get a little bit more interesting. As you'll notice here, a Corel spawns up in the top here, and it tethers to your healer. The thing is that every time the Corel strikes your healer, it gives the healer a healing down debuff and a damage up buff to itself. As such, you want to get this thing dead quick. The longer you let it live, the less likely your healer is to do the same. So basically, kill off the Corel first, get that out of the way, dodge the line AoEs that come from the second wave, and then just tidy up afterwards. The third and fourth waves aren't too much different than this. The fourth wave will have another Corel in it, but the third wave introduces a new mechanic, which we'll see here shortly, which is offshore bombardment. This isn't a terribly difficult thing to deal with, but be aware it drops down a whole bunch of AoEs that are going to be something you have to dodge. So be prepared to move all the time. You can see here we get the line AoEs from the standard mobs, and then this line of circles. There can be multiple types of that, so just be aware that you might see circles everywhere and be prepared to dodge. With that out of the way, let's talk about this second boss. The second boss is kind of a snail thing with a kind of an ice lightning thing going on. But to start off with, let's look at its first mechanic. So you'll notice here we get a kind of a lightning tether that forms between two players. All you got to do to break this is just get far away. Nothing more fancy than that, and you're good. His second mechanic is this slime mechanic. So you can see how he lays down 3 circles on the ground. He will then mark 3 players, each with a red mark. You need to move into the circle in order to avoid the damage. The problem is it puts you in fetters. So just be aware that while you're there, you're essentially out of the fight. After that, you can just pick up, move on, and life is fine. The third thing he does is he does a lot of freezing. So you'll notice right now he's indicating he's going to freeze the floor. At this point, if you've played any of the other dungeons, you're probably familiar with the mechanic. Anytime you touch a key, you're going to go sliding across the arena. So be aware it's going to be a kind of a challenge to move. Especially when he introduces this third mechanic, which basically gives you a Shiva-like circle and then does damage to you. You obviously don't want to stack on top of each other too tight, but if you don't, there's a problem. You see these ice blocks? They explode. And like this, you'll notice that about half the map is unavailable because of how far we spread them out. Now that said, be aware that his ice mechanic can get complicated. Let me show you here how this gets a little bit more challenging because he mixes things up. You can watch my poor monk over here try desperately to get into one of the circles, but it's not happening for him. So he goes wandering off and, well, lightning to the face. He lived, barely. This last fight's actually kind of fun. It's a 2-phase fight. The first phase is relatively straightforward. Tank him pointing away so that overpowered cleave doesn't go on top of your allies. The second thing he's going to do is this AoE hit the entire arena. You just need to heal through that. He does have a third mechanic in this phase where he will create an eruption style AoE circle. You just need to get off it, and you can see that here. So don't stand in the fire and you'll be fine. This pretty much sums up all of the first phase. But that takes us to the second phase. The second phase is a lot more interesting. He switches into the mystical Mistbeard and starts throwing out a couple of new things, including but not limited to these treasure chests. What you'll need to do is that you'll need to find the treasure chests that have the potions in them. The reason for this is that the potions will cure the poison he puts up at the same time he puts down the treasure chests. The poison isn't ridiculously difficult, so if you miss it, it's not the end of the world, but it's definitely better for your healers if you're able to get that in there and make sure you get that poison scrubbed off of you. The second mechanic is these barrels. Basically, if you just bop them real fast, they'll knock out to the outside edge of the arena. He will then basically pick a barrel and shoot it, which will explode violently, and anyone who's stupid enough to be close enough explodes violently with it. So don't let that happen. After that, it's pretty much going through the same mechanics as you've seen before, with one special exception. Sometimes he will target somebody. You can see this happen here. You need to get away from the party, and then you will be given a heavy slow. Your healer needs to remove this slow debuff, and then you can run out of that AoE. If you don't get out of the AoE, you're going to have a bad time. That will typically one-shot most soft targets. With that, hopefully you now know how to do Hullbreaker Isle hard, and I hope to see you in Eorzea. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.